Hey guys, so today's video is on how long should my blog posts be. It's one of the more common questions I've gotten since starting this YouTube channel, so I thought I'd have a look at how long my blog posts are and then share a couple of bits of advice on what you should be doing when it comes to blog post length. So I went to one of my sites. It's an Amazon affiliate site that I'm currently working on at the moment. And I looked at the length of the buyer pages and the length of the info pages. So the buyer pages, where I'm sending people off to Amazon, sort of best X for Y articles, the average was around about 3,300 words in length, which is around about what I expected. It's interesting that article 20, where it's 1,600 words long, it's still ranked on number one. So you don't have to have a super long article to rank number one, but as I'll show you, length does correlate a little bit with rankings. Okay, and then the length of my info pages was around about 1,900 words. Again, that's around about what I expected. My info pages aren't usually quite as long and detailed. Often they're there to be supporting pages within my silos to get some link juice into my silos to send that link juice on to my buyer pages. So they're not quite as important. Okay, so a few things that you need to know about length of articles. The first thing is that the average post on the front page of Google is over 2,000 words long. And that length does correlate with your ranking position. So you can see on this graph here that I got from bluecorona.com that the higher ranked ones in the positions 1, 2, 3, 4, on average, are longer than the ones towards the lower positions on the SERPs. So you can see that those ones that are ranking 1, 2, 3, and 4 on average are around 2,400 words. One thing that you need to keep in mind here, though, is it depends upon the quality of the articles and the competition of the keyword. So if it's a less competitive keyword, then you would assume that perhaps you might need not as many words because there's less people competing for it. There's less people trying to write good quality articles. So there might be a few shorter, 600 word articles in the SERPs. So you might not have to try as hard to get as many words on the page. The next points are that the length does correlate with winning natural backlinks. Here's a quote from Brian Dean from Backlinko. He did a study with Ahrefs, and he said that long form content gets an average of 77% more links than shorter articles. Having said that, in my experience, I don't get that many those many natural backlinks. For one of my sites that's got over 200,000 page views a month, I might get a couple, if I'm lucky, of good quality natural backlinks a month. It's not enough for it to move the needle, really. And the fourth point is longer content is likely to have more latent semantics index keywords. So for example, if you're writing a buyer page and you come down to the buyer's guide and you explain things about, the best gloves for boxers, and you talk about the leather on the gloves and the padding and things, those words, all those explanations that you're providing, they're going to provide some latent semantic indexing keywords that will help Google to understand that your article is very well targeted towards the keyword, and then it'll rank higher. So if you write more content, there's a good chance that you're inserting keywords that are sort of secondary keywords that Google will appreciate and will help Google to rank you higher. Okay, so what do I do? Usually I'll write my blog post naturally, just writing it the way I want to write it, and then afterwards I'll check the competitor length, and then I'll try to outdo my competitors by about 25%. And that tip is one that I got from Brandon Gailey from the blog Millionaire Podcast. So how I check the competitor page length, I'll usually use the Surfer SEO plugin. It's a free plugin. And when you type in your keywords, you can click on the correlational chart on the right-hand side of Google that'll pop up because you've got the plugin installed, and it'll tell you the length of pages on the top 10. So here I've searched best gloves for snowboarding, and you can see that there's this chart here for the length of all the words, and you can see that Outdoor Pursuits, the number one ranking page for best gloves for snowboarding, has over 4,000 words. And then there's a little bit of variation along the SERPs there. That second one, obviously the surfer couldn't actually find the keywords, the length of that one. So there's another thing that you can do to manually check the length, and that is go to the webpage wordcounter.net and then /website word count, and just type the URL into that bar that you can see there, press count words, and it'll count the number of words for you. So you can see here that I did one for Neil Patel's, one of his blogs, and it came up with 5,000 words long. Okay, so once you've checked the length of your competitors and you've gone, oh, actually my blog post is quite a bit shorter than my competitors. My competitors have provided more detailed content than I have. One thing you can do is you can type in your keyword in Google, check the people also asked boxes and the searches related to your term to come up with some examples of sort of maybe H2 and H3 headers that you can put in and add more detail. So for this one, I've done how do I embed a YouTube video? And there's all these drop downs here where I've got some examples. So for example, I see here, is it illegal to embed a YouTube video on a website? That might be one of my extra headings, one of my extra H2, H3 headings that I can add to add a couple hundred more words to my article. Okay, one thing to keep in mind though is you need to ensure you maintain user experience when you've got longer content. Longer content doesn't necessarily mean better content. You see a lot of content that's got a lot of fluff in it, and users don't like it when you're wasting their time with fluff. In fact, if I read a review article and it's got a lot of fluff in it, I'll often be a bit turned off by it, and I'll go back to Google and try to find another page. So make sure you do provide value in there and you're not sort of providing poorly written content. Provide an Amazon link to your top pick early on as well, because if one of your readers is just, they don't want to read, usually readers don't want to read, they just want your suggestion. If they're typing in what are the best boxing gloves, they don't want to read a big review and they don't want to do a whole lot of research. They just want someone to have done the research for them to say, these are the ones you should buy. So usually I'll try to provide a link to Amazon really early on in one of the first couple of paragraphs saying, if you don't want to read all of this, if you just want our top pick, here's the link, and then push them onto Amazon and then you'll get your commission. And the next one is provide 1-sentence reviews under each of your headers. Even if you're going to add a lot of content, if the first sentence of under each header just gives you a little outline of what the whole section is about, the person can just read the header, read the first sentence, and then move on to the next header. So they don't have to read all of the content. So you've got all those extra words and all that extra detail, but also readers don't have to read it if they don't want. So give your reader a choice. Okay, and that's all the advice I've got for you for length of content. Usually for me, I just write the content naturally, and usually it ends up being longer than competitors anyway. If you're, writing buyer's guides after you've done your reviews, for example, it usually does come out pretty long in the end. But then just do that secondary check with the Surfer SEO plugin just to make sure that you're not really short and really outside of the range on the first page.